Finn gets labeled as this classic hero boy all the time. Brave, impulsive, always charging into magical chaos without thinking. But that view completely misses how intellectually capable Finn really is. We're not talking about school smarts here, but how he navigates people, makes impossible choices, and handles the existential weirdness of Ooo without breaking down. When you actually watch pivotal episodes throughout the series, you see a much deeper intelligence at work. Emotional awareness, strategic thinking, and philosophical maturity that grows alongside him. By the end of Adventure Time, Finn is someone who can process complex moral dilemmas and relationship dynamics that would crush most people his age. Before we continue the video, make sure to like the video. Meet Finn the Human, supposedly the last human boy in the land of Ooo, raised by Jake the dog and his adoptive dog parents. On the surface, he looks like your typical teenage hero charging into danger with a grass sword and zero planning. But here's what people miss about Finn's world. It's completely insane. The land of Ooo operates on dream logic, where candy people have existential crises, ice wizards kidnap princesses for tea parties, and ancient cosmic horrors casually drop by for snacks. Most people would lose their minds trying to function in a place where the rules change every episode. Finn doesn't just survive this chaos, he thrives in it. That takes a special kind of intelligence that has nothing to do with book smarts or test scores. We're talking about emotional intelligence, adaptability, and the ability to make moral choices when literally anything could happen next. Look at Dungeon Train from Season 5. Finn gets addicted to fighting monsters on an endless loop train that drops loot after every battle. Sounds simple, right? But watch what actually happens. Finn starts using the train to avoid dealing with his breakup with Flame Princess. He tells Jake the repetitive fighting feels good, like when you made those biscuits way back. When Jake points out he was just responding to all the butter in those biscuits, Finn gets it immediately. The train is his butter. A cheap dopamine hit that's keeping him from processing real emotions. Most people would need therapy sessions to figure that out. Finn understands it in real time, making the connection between past and present behavior, and eventually chooses to leave even though the train feels amazing. That's emotional intelligence working at full speed. Then there's Memory of a Memory from Season 3, where Finn and Jake literally navigate Marceline's memories to wake her up from a sleep spell. They're dealing with pure dream logic, moving through different time periods, following symbolic doorways, and trying to find a memory core in a place that looks like a black void with glowing orbs. When they discover Ash tricked them into stealing Marceline's breakup memory, Finn comes up with a brilliant solution. He uses the same memory powder to pull Marceline into his own memories, where he shows her his memory of her memory. It's like Inception, but Finn figures it out without any training. The land of Ooo constantly throws impossible situations at its characters. Ice King is technically a genius, but his crown-induced madness makes him delusional. Jake is incredibly creative, but relies on improvisation over planning. BMO has computer logic, but struggles with emotional concepts. Princess Bubblegum is scientifically brilliant, but often misses social cues. Each character excels in specific areas, but has major blind spots. Finn exists in this world that defies logic, but he consistently shows intelligence through emotional growth, adaptability, and moral clarity. The land of Ooo is full of absurd rules, wild characters, and magical unpredictability. Yet Finn often rises to the occasion with surprising insight. Being able to think clearly, make ethical choices, and maintain emotional balance in such a surreal world is a significant form of intelligence. What makes Finn special is how he combines different types of thinking. He can switch between tactical combat decisions, complex emotional processing, philosophical discussions about good and evil, and social navigation with dozens of weird characters who all have their own motivations. That kind of mental flexibility is rare. Most adults struggle to handle normal workplace politics. Finn deals with cosmic horror, relationship drama, and saving the world before lunch. People dismiss Finn as just another impulsive hero because he's loud and fights with swords. But impulsive doesn't mean stupid. Finn makes quick decisions in chaotic situations and usually gets them right. That's not luck. That's pattern recognition, emotional intelligence, and moral instincts working together at superhuman speed. Think about what Finn's daily life actually looks like. He wakes up in a treehouse with his shape-shifting dog brother, checks if any princesses need rescuing, maybe fights some cosmic entity before breakfast, then deals with relationship problems involving fire elements or vampire queens. Normal people need years of therapy to process one traumatic event. Finn processes multiple reality-breaking experiences per week and somehow maintains his core identity and moral compass throughout. The fact that Finn stays fundamentally himself while growing and changing shows incredible psychological resilience. He starts the series as a simple hero wannabe who thinks everything is black and white. By later seasons, he's grappling with complex questions about family, identity, forgiveness, and what it means to do good in an ambiguous world. He learns that his biological father is a selfish criminal, that humans aren't automatically good, and that even his enemies have understandable motivations. Most people would become cynical or depressed. Finn integrates these lessons and becomes more compassionate. Consider how Finn handles different types of intelligence challenges throughout the series. When he's fighting, he's not just swinging randomly. He adapts his tactics based on each enemy's weaknesses, coordinates with Jake's shapeshifting abilities, and often finds creative, non-violent solutions when pure combat fails. When he's dealing with social situations, he learns to read people's emotions, understand their motivations, and figure out what they really need versus what they think they want. The mathematical and scientific intelligence that schools typically measure would be useless in Finn's world. You can't solve magical problems with algebra, and social dynamics in OO follow emotional logic rather than rational rules. Finn has developed the exact type of intelligence his environment demands: flexible, intuitive, emotionally aware, and morally grounded. What's really impressive is how Finn handles information overload. The land of OO constantly reveals new layers of complexity. Ancient wars, cosmic entities, alternate dimensions, time travel, complex political relationships between kingdoms. Most people would shut down when faced with that much confusing information. Finn takes it in stride, focuses on what he can control, and maintains his ability to act decisively, even when he doesn't understand everything that's happening. Finn also shows remarkable learning speed. He doesn't get formal education, but he picks up skills and knowledge incredibly quickly through experience. Combat techniques, social awareness, emotional regulation, leadership abilities, even basic magic. Finn absorbs new capabilities and integrates them into his existing skill set without losing what makes him effective. The collaborative intelligence Finn shows with Jake deserves special mention. They're not just friends or brothers, they're a thinking unit that's smarter together than either would be alone. Finn provides focus and moral direction, while Jake brings creativity and emotional support. Finn knows when to lead and when to follow Jake's instincts, when to be serious and when to let Jake lighten the mood. That kind of partnership requires deep emotional intelligence and social awareness. Even Finn's mistakes show intelligence. When he screws up, and he does screw up regularly, he usually learns the right lesson and changes his behavior accordingly. He doesn't repeat the same errors or blame external factors when things go wrong. That's metacognitive intelligence, the ability to think about thinking and adjust your approach based on results. In a world where thinking too hard can literally drive you insane, Finn's blend of intuition and adaptability might be the smartest approach possible. He's developed a form of intelligence perfectly suited to his chaotic environment, and that's way more impressive than getting good grades in a normal school. Look, when most people think about Finn, they see this hyperactive kid swinging a sword around. But here's the thing, Finn's emotional intelligence is actually insane for someone his age. And I'm not talking about some feel-good cartoon lesson. I'm talking about real, complex emotional processing that most adults struggle with. Let's start with Breezy. This episode comes right after Finn loses his arm, and he's basically depressed. His flower arm is wilting because he can't feel anything. Dr. Princess straight up tells him that he's falling into depression because of what his dad did to him. Now, most cartoon characters would just bounce back in one episode, right? Not Finn. He tries to fix his emotional numbness by making out with different princesses. Crab Princess, Lizard Princess, Mussel Princess. He's trying to feel something, anything. But here's what's brilliant about Finn's emotional intelligence. He recognizes that this isn't working. When Breezy asks how he feels after kissing Crab Princess, he says, "I don't feel nothing. Maybe if I made out with a lot of girls, maybe I would feel something." That's not just honesty, that's emotional self-awareness. He knows he's using these relationships to avoid dealing with his real trauma. Most people can't even admit that to themselves, let alone say it out loud. And then there's his relationship with Breezy herself. She's clearly attracted to his flower, not really him. But Finn recognizes her feelings are genuine, even if they started for the wrong reasons. When she transforms into Queen Breezy and confesses she loves him, Finn doesn't mock her or use her feelings. He gently tells her he wants to keep things casual because he doesn't feel the same way. That's emotional maturity most adults don't have. Pahoy takes this even deeper. Finn's upset because Flame Princess didn't laugh at his joke, and he thinks their relationship is over. Jake tells him he's creating imaginary problems, but Finn knows he needs time to process alone. So he goes into the Pillow Fort and ends up living an entire lifetime in Pillow World. In that world, Finn grows up, gets married to Rosalinen, has kids. When he's old and dying, he experiences this cosmic journey through space. But here's the kicker. When he wakes up, he's forgotten the whole thing. His subconscious processed whatever he needed to process, and now Flame Princess calls to tell him she finally got the joke. That's not just emotional intelligence, that's emotional wisdom. Finn's mind knew how to heal itself through this dream experience. Most people spend years in therapy trying to figure out what Finn's subconscious did naturally. The Vault shows maybe his most impressive emotional skill, facing repressed trauma. Finn's been sleepwalking and having nightmares about this ghost lady, but he's locked the memory away because it's too painful to deal with. When Jake suggests opening his mental vault, Finn initially refuses, but he eventually agrees to use the regression simulator. What he discovers is that he was Shoko in a past life, a one-armed thief who betrayed Princess Bubblegum's trust and died in radioactive waste. This is guilt that spans lifetimes, but Finn doesn't run from it. He calls Princess Bubblegum, digs up Shoko's remains, and returns the stolen amulet. The emotional intelligence here is staggering. Finn takes responsibility for actions from a past life. He understands that some pain needs to be faced, not buried. And he knows that making amends is more important than protecting his own comfort. Even Too Young shows this emotional maturity. When Princess Bubblegum gets age regressed to 13, Finn's excited to hang out with someone his own age. They go on dates, pull pranks together. He's having the time of his life. But when Lemongrab takes over the kingdom and PB realizes she needs to age back up to save her people, Finn doesn't throw a tantrum. He helps her gather candy biomass from the other candy people. He provides the bonding agent with his saliva. And when she tells him she wishes she could stay 13 but has to grow up because her people need her, Finn understands completely. He gives her the whopping love hug to complete the transformation, even though he knows it means losing the relationship they had. At the end, when 18-year-old Princess Bubblegum tells him that their kiss was like 5 years ago and he needs to move on, Finn's hurt, but he doesn't argue or try to convince her otherwise. He accepts it with grace that most adults couldn't manage. But Finn's emotional intelligence isn't perfect, and that's what makes it so real. Incendium shows him at his most emotionally immature. When Princess Bubblegum pushes him away and tells him not to be weird, Finn completely falls apart. He curls up in a corner with her hair and pictures, crying and singing about how miserable he is. This is pure emotional regression. Instead of processing the rejection like he does in later episodes, Finn wallows in self-pity. He's so depressed that he doesn't even notice when Flame Princess literally sets his house on fire. The only thing that snaps him out of it is when the fire starts burning his Princess Bubblegum pictures. And then when he meets Flame Princess face to face, his emotional processing is completely backward. She asks, "What's wrong with me? Don't you like me?" And he immediately responds, "I like you." But he's not really responding to her as a person. He's responding to her as a replacement for Princess Bubblegum. The episode ends with Finn saying he has a crush on Flame Princess, but it's not based on any real emotional connection. It's just rebound attraction. This shows that emotional intelligence is something that develops through experience and can regress under stress. What makes Finn's emotional intelligence so impressive is that he learns from them and grows. His intelligence is dynamic and constantly evolving through the messiness of real emotional experience. At first glance, everyone sees him as just a reckless kid swinging a sword, but there's so much more going on beneath the surface. His true brilliance is philosophical. Over time, he grows into someone with a depth of understanding that surpasses most adults, though it often goes unrecognized. Take King's Ransom. Most people just remember Betty going crazy and messing with the crown. But watch Finn during all this chaos. When Ice King starts turning back into Simon right in front of him, Finn doesn't lose his mind, he just gets it. He understands that something deeper is happening here. Most teenagers would be screaming, "Change him back!" But Finn respects the process. He sees the humanity in transformation, even when it's scary. And when Betty sacrifices herself, Finn doesn't throw a tantrum about how unfair it is. He accepts that she made this choice out of love, even though it destroys her. That's incredibly mature thinking about sacrifice and autonomy. Like, how many adults can actually handle watching someone they care about making a painful but necessary choice? The Hall of Egress is straight up the smartest episode in the series, and it's all about Finn's mind. He gets trapped in this reality-bending cave where every time he opens his eyes, everything resets. It's basically a philosophical nightmare about perception and control. Most people would go completely insane. But Finn, he methodically works through it. He tries fighting it, he tries understanding it, he tries gaming the system. Nothing works. So eventually, he does something brilliant. He gives up trying to control the situation entirely. He wanders for months with his eyes closed, stripping away everything he thinks he needs until he reaches this state of pure acceptance. That's advanced Buddhist philosophy right there. The whole "you have to stop wanting something before you can have it" concept that makes philosophy students' heads explode. Finn figures it out through pure experience and reflection. No books, no teachers, just his own mind working through impossible problems. Come Along With Me shows how far he's come. There's literally two armies about to destroy each other. And Finn's solution? Drug everyone into a shared nightmare so they can work through their trauma together. Think about how wild that is. A teenager looks at war and decides the answer is forced group therapy in Dreamland. And it works. He makes Princess Bubblegum and Gumball confront their family issues in this surreal dream space. He understands that their conflict is about hurt feelings and misunderstanding. That level of psychological insight is incredible for someone his age. When Golb shows up and reality starts falling apart, watch what Finn does. He doesn't try to be the hero who saves everyone. He accepts that some forces are bigger than him. He lets Betty make her choice, comforts Simon afterward, and helps plant Fern's remains. He's learned that sometimes the smartest thing is knowing when to step back. Together Again proves this wisdom lasted his whole life. Old Finn dies and immediately rushes to find Jake in the afterlife. But when Jake explains he's moved beyond earthly attachments and found peace, Finn makes this incredible decision. He chooses to be reborn alone rather than guilt trip his best friend into giving up spiritual enlightenment. Like, think about that. Your best friend for your entire life says, "I'm happy here, but you should go live again." And instead of being selfish about it, you respect his journey. That's the kind of wisdom that most people never develop, even after decades of life experience. Now compare this to early Finn, and it's embarrassing. In Henchman, his moral thinking is painfully black and white. Marceline acts mean, so she must be evil. Jake tries to save him, so Jake must be right. He can't even consider that maybe situations are more complicated than good guys versus bad guys. No One Can Hear You shows what happens when his simple worldview breaks down. Everyone's missing. Jake's brain damaged and acting crazy, and Finn just falls apart. He can't process complexity or ambiguity. When reality doesn't match his expectations, he has no framework for understanding what's happening. It's honestly kind of painful to watch. But that's the core of who Finn really is. He doesn't stay stuck in that simple thinking. Most people hit complexity and just shut down or retreat into comfortable beliefs. Finn leans into the confusion. Every traumatic experience becomes a chance to understand something deeper about existence. By the end of the series, Finn understands concepts that would break most people's brains. Identity is fluid. Love sometimes means letting go. Justice isn't always about punishment. Growth requires accepting painful truths. These aren't things you learn from textbooks. They come from living through life and thinking deeply about what it all means. This philosophical intelligence is honestly Finn's superpower. It's why he can connect with cosmic entities and broken people equally well. While other characters get stuck in their patterns, Finn keeps evolving his understanding of life, death, relationships, and meaning. Now here's where things get spicy. This makes him smarter than Princess Bubblegum in the ways that actually matter. PB can build robots and run kingdoms, but she struggles with basic emotional intelligence for most of the series. Finn develops the kind of wisdom that helps you navigate the really hard parts of being alive. That's intelligence that actually matters in the real world. Anyone can memorize facts or solve technical problems, but developing genuine wisdom about existence? That's rare. And Finn somehow pulls it off by the time he's a teenager. Before I tell you Finn's IQ, make sure to subscribe to our channel. And now, let's get back to the video. Okay, so here's my final answer. Finn's IQ is 123. And yeah, I know that sounds high for a kid who solves most problems by hitting them with a sword. But hear me out. An IQ of 123 puts you right at the edge of superior intelligence. You're not a genius, but you're definitely smarter than like 85% of people. And honestly, that's exactly where Finn belongs. Dude's way more intelligent than anyone gives him credit for. Think about what that 123 actually means in real life. These are people who can see patterns others miss, stay calm under crazy pressure, think through moral problems logically, and adapt fast when everything goes wrong. Sound familiar? That's literally Finn's whole thing. But here's what's wild. Finn's intelligence is totally different from every other smart character in Adventure Time, and that difference is everything. Princess Bubblegum is probably like 160 plus. She builds living candy people, runs kingdoms, solves scientific problems that would break actual scientists. But throw her into a normal social situation, and she's completely lost. Remember Varmints? She genuinely doesn't understand why Marceline is mad about the whole surveillance thing. Her emotional intelligence is basically stuck at age 12. Ice King is this chaotic genius type. When Simon's brain isn't fried by crown magic, he was clearly brilliant, studying ancient cosmic stuff before the world ended. But his intelligence is totally unreliable. One minute, he's having deep thoughts about existence. Next minute, he's kidnapping princesses for tea parties. You can't count on crazy genius. Jake is pure instinct. Super creative, emotionally smart, but he doesn't really analyze stuff systematically. His solution to everything is turn into something weird and see what happens. Works for him, but it's not exactly reproducible intelligence. Finn sits at 123, right above all this chaos. And that's why he actually gets stuff done. He's smart enough to handle complex problems, but not so smart that he overthinks everything. He's emotionally aware enough to connect with literally anyone, but not so sensitive that his feelings paralyze him. Look at Come Along With Me. Two armies are about to destroy each other, and instead of trying to out-strategize everyone or build some crazy technology, Finn uses that 123 level thinking. He realizes the real problem is emotional. People are fighting because they're hurt and angry, not because of actual strategy. So what does he do? He doses everyone with nightmare juice, throwing them into a shared dream where they're forced to confront their emotions. It's exactly what someone with superior intelligence would come up with. Get to the root of the problem instead of just patching up the symptoms. The Hall of Egress proves this even more. Finn gets trapped in this mind-bending cave where opening his eyes resets everything. Most people would go insane. Finn tries every logical approach first. But when nothing works, he does something that takes real 123 level wisdom. He completely gives up control. He spends months wandering blind, stripping away everything he thinks he needs until he reaches total acceptance. That's metacognitive intelligence, thinking about thinking. That's what separates superior minds from average ones. The pattern recognition stuff is huge too. In Dungeon Training, Jake mentions those butter biscuits, and Finn instantly connects it to his current behavior. He realizes he's using fighting and relationships as emotional numbing tools. That level of self-analysis is exactly what you'd expect from 123 IQ. But here's what really sets Finn apart. His intelligence actually grows. Princess Bubblegum stays basically the same throughout the series. Brilliant at the start, brilliant at the end. Finn evolves from simple black and white thinking into someone who can handle cosmic philosophical problems. By Together Again, old Finn is making decisions about death and rebirth that would break most people's minds. He chooses to be reborn alone rather than guilt-trip Jake into giving up spiritual peace. That's 123 level wisdom applied to the biggest questions in existence. This might upset some people, but this makes Finn actually smarter than Princess Bubblegum in ways that matter for real life. PB can build civilizations, but can't maintain friendships without surveillance. Finn connects with everyone, cosmic entities, broken people, literal enemies, because he understands what motivates people fundamentally. Finn's 123 IQ is also perfectly human. He makes mistakes consistently, has breakdowns, sometimes does stuff for totally wrong reasons, but he learns from everything. His intelligence is messy and grows through actual experience. 123 is the perfect number for someone living in Adventure Time's world. Smart enough to solve complex problems, but not so smart he gets stuck overthinking. Emotional intelligence enough to understand people, but not so empathetic that he can't make hard choices. It's that sweet spot of superior intelligence without the social problems that come with genius-level IQ. The adaptability thing is massive in Finn's universe. Normal intelligence assumes consistent rules, but Finn lives where candy people have existential crises and cosmic horrors drop by for snacks. Rolling with absolute chaos while keeping his core identity shows exactly the flexible intelligence you'd expect from a 123 IQ. What makes Finn's 123 so effective is he's not afraid to fail. Higher IQ people sometimes get paralyzed, needing to be right constantly. Finn tries stuff, fails spectacularly, learns the lesson, moves on. That trial and error approach creates breakthroughs that careful planning never could. The genius of Finn's character is that 123 feels achievable. You can't become Princess Bubblegum. Either you're born with technical brilliance or you're not. But you can develop Finn's intelligence through experience and emotional growth. That's inspiring instead of intimidating. Finn proves wisdom beats raw intellectual power. Adaptability, empathy, and growth matter more than being the smartest person around. In a world of cosmic chaos and magical weirdness, 123 level grounded intelligence is exactly what you need to actually help people and make things better. And that's what sets him apart. At 123 IQ, he's smart enough to matter, human enough to relate to, and wise enough to keep growing. Honestly, that might be the smartest approach to life there is. But what do you think? Do you agree that Finn's IQ is 123? Or would you place him higher or lower? Drop a comment below and let me know your take. So we've talked about Finn's 123 IQ and all that, but here's where it gets really wild. Watch what happens when everything falls apart and people need someone to lean on. That's when you see his intelligence isn't just book smarts or whatever. It's something way more important. Normal Man is perfect for showing this. Magic Man loses his powers, becomes Normal Man, and his brother Glob gets kidnapped by Tiny Manticore who wants revenge. This is pure emotional chaos, like centuries of family drama, guilt, anger, and someone might actually die. And who does Normal Man come crawling to for help? Finn and Jake. Think about how crazy this is. Normal Man has been the worst throughout the entire series. He's tortured people for fun, manipulated everyone, been a complete psychopath. Most people would tell him to go die in a hole. I probably would. But Finn doesn't. He actually listens when Normal Man explains the situation. He figures out that this is genuinely about family stuff, not some weird magic trick, and he decides to help. That's emotional intelligence working in real time, seeing past someone's terrible reputation to understand what they might actually need right now. When they get to Wild Trap Mountain and Normal Man starts talking about letting Tiny margle him off a cliff, Finn immediately shuts that down. He goes, "Glob's your brother, and brothers always care about each other, even if one of them is a terrible deuce breakfast like you." Like, that's Finn being the moral compass without being preachy about it. He sees that self-destruction won't fix anything and that family relationships are worth fighting for, even when the family member is literally the worst person alive. Throughout the whole mountain climb, everyone else is losing their minds. Normal Man's panicking. Jake's getting eaten by carnivorous plants. There's archer bandits and dragon ghosts and all kinds of nonsense. But Finn just keeps pushing forward with this clear sense of what needs to happen. That's his 123 IQ working under pressure. Staying focused when everything's chaos. When they finally reach Tiny at the top, this situation could explode any direction. Tiny's been planning revenge for months. Normal Man's desperate to save his brother. Glob's caught in the middle with a flamethrower pointed at him. But Finn doesn't try to take control or force some solution. He supports Normal Man's genuine attempt to sacrifice himself for Glob. He validates Tiny's feelings about being tortured. He creates space for everyone to actually work through their emotions instead of just fighting. That's social intelligence. Understanding that sometimes the best leadership is just holding space for people to figure their stuff out. And it works. The resolution happens because Finn helped create an environment where people could be honest. Tiny realizes revenge won't actually make him feel better. Normal Man gets to prove he's changed. Glob gets to make his own choice about Mars. Nobody had to die. Everybody got what they really needed. Billy's bucket list shows this from a different angle. Finn discovers his hero Billy left him a personal message, and it's devastating. His biological father is alive and imprisoned in some cosmic prison. This is the kind of news that would completely destroy most people. Learning that everything you thought you knew about your family was wrong? That would send me into therapy for years. But watch how Finn handles it. He doesn't deny it, doesn't have a breakdown, doesn't immediately rush off on some stupid rescue mission. He takes time to actually process what Billy told him and starts thinking about next steps. That's emotional regulation and strategic thinking working together. Most teenagers would be having a complete meltdown, but Finn's treating this like important information that needs to be handled carefully. The whole bucket list thing shows Finn's ability to honor the past while moving forward. He completes Billy's unfinished tasks, not because he's some hero-worshipping fanboy, but because he understands that closure matters for healing. When he forces himself to face the ocean to complete the list, he's not just conquering a phobia, he's proving that growth requires dealing with difficult stuff. The Comet takes this to the extreme. Finn gets offered the ultimate escape, the chance to become a cosmic entity with infinite knowledge and power. The Catalyst Comet literally offers him freedom from all earthly problems, all pain, all limitations. Basically, he could become a god. And Finn says no. He tells the Comet, "I feel like I put a lot of work into this meat reality. I'd like to see it through." That's philosophical intelligence at its peak, understanding that struggle and limitation are part of what makes life meaningful. But here's where that gets really impressive. When his dad Martin takes the Comet's offer and abandons him again, Finn doesn't fall apart. He's hurt, obviously, but he processes it super quickly. He goes, "Well, there ain't no change in you, I guess," and accepts that this is who Martin is. That's emotional intelligence and wisdom working together to handle abandonment with actual grace. Most people would be screaming or crying or having some kind of breakdown. Finn just gets it and moves on. Here's the controversial part. Throughout all of these situations, other characters consistently turn to Finn when they need help with moral or emotional stuff. Normal Man asks for his help. Canyon trusts him with Billy's memory. The Catalyst Comet respects his choice. Even cosmic entities treat Finn like someone whose judgment matters. This pattern happens constantly. When Princess Bubblegum needs someone to talk her out of starting a war, she listens to Finn. When Jake needs emotional support, he goes to Finn. When Marceline needs perspective on relationship drama, she values Finn's input. He's become the person everyone trusts when everything's falling apart. And here's what makes this so wild. Finn doesn't try to be this person. He's not positioning himself as some wise leader or emotional guru. He's just constantly present, honest, and willing to help people work through their problems. That kind of natural, emotional leadership is incredibly rare. The 123 IQ we talked about manifests in these crisis moments as the ability to stay calm, process complex emotional information quickly, and help others find their own solutions. Finn's intelligence is about asking the right questions and creating space for people to heal and grow. That's the kind of intelligence that actually changes people's lives. Anyone can memorize facts or solve puzzles, but being someone others can count on when everything's going wrong? That takes a special combination of emotional wisdom, moral clarity, and genuine caring that most adults never develop. Finn's becoming the emotional anchor for this entire world, and he makes it look effortless. At 16 years old, he's handling crisis management better than most therapists. That's real intelligence in action, and it's way more impressive than any test score could ever be. Alright, so we've established that Finn has this 123 IQ and handles crisis situations like a pro. But here's the thing that makes him really special. His intelligence actually changes throughout the series. Most cartoon characters stay basically the same from episode 1 to the finale. Finn evolves from this simple hero kid into someone with genuine wisdom about life, death, and everything in between. Early Finn is basically a walking disaster when it comes to emotional intelligence. In Henchman, he sees Marceline being mean to someone and immediately assumes she's evil. Good guys versus bad guys. Heroes versus villains. Everything's simple when you're 12 and the world makes sense. He can't even imagine that someone might act threatening while actually being kind. Fast forward to Together Again, and old Finn is making decisions about death, rebirth, and eternal friendship that would break most philosophers. He chooses to live another entire life rather than force Jake to give up spiritual peace. That's not the same person. That's someone who's learned wisdom through decades of experience and pain. The relationship stuff shows this evolution perfectly. Finn's crush on Princess Bubblegum starts out as pure hero worship. She's the princess, he's the hero. They're supposed to end up together because that's how stories work. When she rejects him in Too Young, he handles it with surprising grace for a 13-year-old. He helps her age back up, even though he knows it means losing their connection. But then Incendium happens, and Finn completely regresses. Princess Bubblegum tells him not to be weird, and he falls apart. Crying in a corner with her hair, singing sad songs about his feelings. This is emotional intelligence going backward under stress. He's so depressed, he doesn't even notice his house is catching fire. The Flame Princess relationship shows him trying to apply what he learned, but still getting it wrong. He likes her partly because she's not Princess Bubblegum, which isn't fair to either of them. When their relationship gets complicated, Finn tries to manipulate situations instead of just being honest. The whole thing explodes because he's still thinking like relationships are puzzles to solve instead of connections between people. By later seasons, watch how Finn handles Princess Bubblegum. He's not chasing her anymore, not trying to prove himself worthy. In Normal Man, when he helps that situation with the family drama, it's not because he's trying to impress anyone. It's because he genuinely understands that broken relationships need healing, not more conflict. Their dynamic becomes more collaborative instead of romantic, and that shows real emotional growth. The Fern storyline is where Finn's intelligence really gets tested. He's literally another version of himself, all his memories, all his experiences, but corrupted by the Grass Sword's influence. Most people would either reject this other self completely or try to fix them. Finn does something more complicated. He recognizes that Fern is still fundamentally him, but also accepts that they're different people now. When Fern becomes jealous and violent, Finn doesn't write him off as evil. He keeps trying to connect, keeps believing Fern can choose to be better. In their final moments together, Finn helps Fern kill the Grass Demon and find peace. That requires understanding identity, choice, and redemption on a level most adults never reach. But here's what's really impressive. Finn's mistakes become part of his intelligence. When he screws up with Flame Princess, he doesn't just move on or make excuses. He reflects on what went wrong and changes his approach to relationships. When he discovers his dad is a selfish criminal, he doesn't become cynical about family. He learns that love is about choice and commitment. The philosophical growth is even more dramatic. Early Finn thinks heroes always win and good always triumphs. By Pahoy, he's dealing with concepts about time, identity, and multiple lifetimes that would challenge philosophy students. He lives an entire alternate life in Pillow World, grows old, has a family, dies, and then wakes up having processed whatever his subconscious needed to work through. That's emotional wisdom operating on levels most people never reach. Billy's bucket list shows Finn processing devastating news about his identity without falling apart. Learning that his biological father is alive and imprisoned would send most people into crisis. Finn takes time to absorb the information, considers what it means, and starts planning his response. That's emotional regulation and strategic thinking working together under extreme stress. The Comet takes this to the ultimate level. Finn gets offered transcendence, the chance to become a cosmic entity with infinite knowledge. But he chooses to stay human because he values the work he's put into his meat reality. That's philosophical intelligence that most people never develop. He understands that struggle and limitation give life meaning. The way Finn handles his dad's abandonment in that same episode shows how far he's come. Martin chooses to leave with the Comet, abandoning Finn again. Old Finn would have begged or cried or raged. 16-year-old Finn just accepts it. Well, there ain't no change in you, I guess. He's learned that you can't control other people's choices, only your own response to them. Jake's relationship with Finn evolves too, and it shows Finn's growing emotional intelligence. Early in the series, Jake is clearly the emotional support, the one who helps Finn process feelings and navigate social situations. By later seasons, they're more equal partners. Finn starts providing emotional support back, helping Jake with his own growth and challenges. In Together Again, their final conversation shows the depth of their bond. Jake has achieved enlightenment and moved beyond earthly attachments. Finn could guilt trip him into coming back, could make their friendship about his own needs. Instead, he respects Jake's spiritual journey and chooses to be reborn alone. That's love without possessiveness, friendship without selfishness. But the real genius of Finn's character development is that his intelligence stays fundamentally human. He never becomes some perfect wise sage who has all the answers. Even in later episodes, he's still making mistakes, still learning, still growing. But now he bounces back faster, learns the right lessons, and applies the knowledge to new situations. The Distant Lands special proves this growth is permanent. Old Finn in Together Again has maintained his core kindness and curiosity while gaining genuine wisdom about life, death, and meaning. He's not bitter despite decades of loss and trauma. He's not cynical despite learning that the world is complicated and often unfair. This is what earned intelligence looks like. Finn didn't get smart by reading books or taking tests. He got smart by living through impossible situations, making terrible mistakes, and choosing to learn from everything. His 123 IQ is the result of emotional experiences that would break most people. What makes this controversial is that Finn's intelligence development suggests that wisdom comes from suffering processed correctly, not from avoiding pain or being naturally gifted. Most educational systems focus on protecting kids from failure and stress. Finn's story suggests that controlled exposure to difficulty, combined with strong support systems and moral grounding, creates genuine intelligence that matters. By the end of Adventure Time, Finn represents something rare, a person who maintains hope and kindness while fully understanding how complex and painful life can be. That's not naive optimism, that's hard-won wisdom. His intelligence evolved from simple pattern recognition to genuine understanding of human nature, moral complexity, and the meaning of existence. That kind of intelligence can't be taught in schools or measured by tests. It has to be earned through living, loving, losing, and choosing to keep growing anyway. Finn proves that real wisdom comes not from being the smartest person in the room, but from being someone others can trust when everything falls apart. And if you enjoyed our video today, make sure to subscribe to our channel.